Hi, I'm Bill O'Reilly. Thanks for watching us tonight. Will President Obama help or hurt Hillary Clinton in her quest to become president? That is the subject of this evening's Talking Points memo. On Friday, the Commerce Department gave Americans the bad news. Economic growth now tracking at 1% this year, 1%. That is the weakest start to a year since 2011 and the worst economic recovery since 1949. That report issued just 2 days after President Obama said this.
After the worst recession in 80 years, we fought our way back. We've seen deficits come down, 401ks recover, an auto industry set new records.
That's true. Big business and the stock market are generally doing well. But on your street, that might not be the case. The Wall Street Journal reports that some corporations are not investing in the future. Rather, they are taking as much profit as they can right now. That signals that big business does not believe the American economy is robust. And who suffers? The worker, because jobs are not being created. So President Obama can say anything he wants, trot out any stats he wants. But the reality is we are living in a country that today has 1% economic growth. Now, how is Hillary Clinton going to handle that? Because the economy is the most important issue of the campaign. Here's what she said Thursday night.
Our economy is so much stronger than when they took office. Nearly 15 million new private sector jobs, 20 million more Americans with health insurance, and an auto industry that just had its best year ever. Now, that's real progress, but none of us can be satisfied with the status quo.
Problem is, Mrs. Clinton has not defined yet precise economic measures that she would take to change the status quo, other than a $275 billion federal investment program in public works. But that's taxpayer dollars, not private sector stimulation. The same scenario President Obama has been using. Trump, on the other hand, says he'll renegotiate all kinds of trade deals and punish corporations who move jobs overseas. The Republican candidate also says he'll cut corporate and personal income taxes to stimulate consumer spending and investment. Hillary Clinton says she'll raise taxes on the wealthy, but has not clearly defined her corporate tax view. So you, the voter, have to decide which economic posture you believe will be most effective. Now on to immigration. It is here that Trump is most militant. If elected, he will build a wall on the southern border and bring heavy scrutiny to illegal aliens already living in the USA. There's no wiggle room on that. If elected, Trump would have to do it. Secretary Clinton has a much more nuanced approach.
Comprehensive immigration reform will grow our economy and keep families together, and it's the right thing to do. So, whatever party you belong to, or if you belong to no party at all, if you share these beliefs, this is your campaign.
These beliefs? I'm not really sure what that means. Right now, the Democratic Party has no program to secure the southern border. Apparently, the party believes all is well down there. But the Border Patrol Union has endorsed Trump, so all may not be well. Also, if you read the Democratic Party platform, and I'm sure you all have, it basically says that any illegal alien who doesn't commit a crime in the USA should be able to stay. The Bernie Sanders crew wants completely open borders and amnesty for everyone already here. Does Hillary Clinton want that? We don't know yet. The calculation may be that Hispanic Americans don't want any immigration action other than assimilation. If the Clinton campaign comes to that conclusion, the secretary won't say much about illegal immigration other than the cliched mantra, comprehensive immigration reform, which means absolutely nothing. Finally, terrorism, very big issue, as you know, especially if there's another attack here in America. It's clear Barack Obama's policy toward ISIS and other Islamic jihadists is to defeat them gradually. The president does not want to commit ground troops, even if they are under an international banner like NATO. Mr. Obama's policy is called acceptable losses. That is, in the terror conflict, people will die. But you don't overreact by committing massive forces to destroy ISIS. I mean, look at what's happened. ISIS gained power under the Obama administration. And while it has been recently set back some, it is still the world's most dangerous organization. And these savages sit there in Raqqa, Syria, just 50 miles away from the Turkish border. Trump says he'll defeat ISIS quickly, but he says he will not tell us how, because then ISIS would know. But there's no question that Donald Trump is far more aggressive, at least verbally, than President Obama has been on the ISIS situation. So what does Hillary Clinton do? Here's what she said on Thursday.
Anyone reading the news can see the threats and turbulence we face, from Baghdad to Kabul to Nice and Paris and Brussels, from San Bernardino to Orlando. We're dealing with determined enemies that must be defeated. We will strike their sanctuaries from the air and support local forces taking them out on the ground. We will surge our intelligence so we detect and prevent attacks before they happen.
Well, that is the exact same policy President Obama has. No difference. Today, new polling says Mrs. Clinton did get a bump from her convention. She's slightly ahead of Donald Trump if you factor in the margin of error. But a political scientist at Stony Brook University in New York says that Trump, wait for it, has an 87% chance of defeating Hillary Clinton in November. The teacher, Helmut Norpoth, bases his projection on the primary votes from both parties and past presidential elections. Now, of course, that's speculation, but so are the polls at this point. Americans will not lock in until after Labor Day. And, of course, the three debates will mean everything this year. Finally, Hillary Clinton has to decide how much President Obama's support means to her campaign. It's a given that this election is very personal. African Americans and Hispanics largely supporting her, white Americans supporting Trump in large numbers. For you far-left smear websites out there, that is a general statement of fact backed up by the polls. So President Obama campaigning for Hillary Clinton will, of course, galvanize the minority vote. However, it may also drive more working-class white voters into the Trump camp. Mr. Obama is convinced, he firmly believes, that his economic programs have saved America from a Great Depression. But that kind of conjecture means nothing to people who are struggling to pay their bills. Summing up, Trump offers bold change in his speeches. Secretary Clinton offers mainly conventional liberal thinking. She can depart from that to some extent without alienating her party. But if she repudiates any of President Obama's policies, she knows she might alienate him. Is she willing to do that? And that's a memo. Next on the Rundown, reaction. Later, Frank Luntz talking to the folks about the best and worst statements Trump and Clinton made at their respective conventions. Fascinating exclusive report up ahead. Continue now with our lead story. Will Hillary Clinton depart from President Obama's policies? Joining us from Boston, Marianne Marsh. From Washington, Katie Pavlich. All right, Katie, we'll begin with you. Secretary Clinton going to toe the Obama line, in your opinion?
Well, of course she is. I mean, there's a reason why President Obama endorsed her, and it's partly her job to protect his legacy. And she's trying to walk this line of saying the economy is great because Obama has implemented all of these policies, while at the same time trying to reassure people that she'll make it better. And another indication that she'll do exactly what Obama said is the language that she uses, just like you pointed out in your talking points memo. She says repeatedly, we're going to invest in infrastructure, invest in roads and bridges and our crumbling infrastructure. Well, guess what? President Obama did that as well, to the tune of $1 trillion with the stimulus package, and admitted himself that it was a failure in terms of creating jobs. So she's going to try and go that route. I think that the American people will see right through it and say they want something different. Right. And as you mentioned, that will help Trump. Now,
Marianne, when you saw the report on Friday of 1% growth and the weakest recovery from a recession since 1949, that pretty much wiped out President Obama's speech on Monday as far as facts are concerned, did it not?
Well, I think we all agree that the Great Recession's behind us, and the big challenge now is to make sure that people have jobs that pay better wages. And that's the anger that's fueling this election, in addition to the fact that Washington doesn't work. And that's why I think when you look at Hillary Clinton, she has the plans to bring back those kinds of jobs and understands the politics to make Washington work to do that.
But let me
and
stop
I think
you.
that's the big
Let me
difference
stop
there.
you there.
Yep.
The only plan, and I researched this because you guys know that when I write these memos, we do unbelievable research. The only specificity that Secretary Clinton put forth was the $275 billion public works program, which Katie rightly pointed out is well short of the trillion that President Obama put into that, and it really didn't move the job dial. So I'm not seeing how that will stimulate the overall economy by putting that kind of tax money into a public works thing. How's that going to stimulate the economy, Marianne?
Actually, she does have a better plan. If you want to restore the middle class, you need to restore manufacturing. She's going to put $10 billion of investment into restoring manufacturing by taking back tax credits.
What does that mean? Is the government going to build plans for private companies?
No, she just like you said in your talking points that Donald Trump wants to punish companies who've gone overseas with their jobs. She's going to do just that by rescinding their tax benefits, taking that money, which is going to pay for it, investing it in manufacturing.
I understand
which are
that,
the
but
kinds of
that's not
jobs
a
that
job.
pay people $20 an hour.
That's not a job stimulator, all right? Unless unless the companies start to expand here. All right, let's get off that and get to terrorism.
That's exactly what they're going to do.
Let's get to terrorism because I only have a short time, and I'm going to give you each 30 seconds. Did you, Katie, see anything different or new in the terror fight against ISIS?
The only thing that I've seen Hillary do that's different than President Obama is say we're up against a radical jihadist enemy, which the White House, of course, hasn't said.
That, yes.
But she doesn't detail a plan. She doesn't say how we're going to fight them in terms of doing something differently. She doesn't talk about the rules of engagement, which when you talk to the people who are doing the work from the air and those who have been in Iraq and Afghanistan fighting this type of enemy, they say the rules of engagement needs to be changed so that they can finish the job. She doesn't talk about that. So there are a whole lot of details about how to change it.
Marianne, did you see anything or do you know anything, because you work with the Democrats, that would be different from what President Obama is doing vis-a-vis ISIS?
I think if you listen carefully to Hillary Clinton, both on foreign policy and economic policy, she's going to be more aggressive. And you've heard that even before
Do you have any
the convention,
specific
before
things?
the speech.
See, I'm going to be more aggressive with my next guest than you. But I'm not going to tell you how. You give me some specifics.
Well, that's Donald Trump's position. That's Donald Trump's position. I'm not going to tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to be better. Hillary Clinton, I think, would have more strikes, more troops, more assets, those kinds of things on the ground. I think she, in certain places, I think she would be willing to do that.
Yeah, but she hasn't said that, though. You'll see we don't have that on the record.
Later. No, but you're going to hear, Bill, I think to be fair here, it's August. We have 98 days to go. You're going to hear more specificity as the campaign goes on those matters.
Especially if she does it.
She's not going to repeat.
Especially if she does an interview with me, then I'll say, okay.
Well, I bet you that'll happen. But I think she doesn't want to. She needs to put. She needs to embrace Obama without repudiating him.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's right. That's the line. You have to. You can't alienate him, but you're going to have to differentiate, particularly if the polls start to go Trump's way. Ladies, thank you.
They are.
Directly ahead, a Factor exclusive scientific analysis of the best and worst moments for Trump and Clinton at their respective conventions. Right back with it. Impact segment tonight, voter reaction to Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton. First, we have to deal, though, with this Muslim father-Trump controversy that has erupted. Khizr Khan, naturalized American citizen from Pakistan, lost his son, a captain in the U.S. Army, in Iraq. He was killed on June 8, 2004, trying to stop two suicide bombers. Captain Khan is a true American hero. So the Democratic Party brought his father into the convention to scold Donald Trump about his proposed Muslim immigration policy. After that, Trump hit back.
Donald Trump, you're asking Americans to trust you with their future. Let me ask you, have you even read the United States Constitution? I will gladly lend you my copy.
I saw him. He was, very emotional and probably looked like a nice guy to me. His wife, if you look at his wife, she was standing there. She had nothing to say. Maybe she wasn't allowed to have anything to say. You tell me.
All right, joining us now from Los Angeles, Frank Luntz, who we asked to conduct a so-called dial session where regular folks, in this case uncommitted voters in Ohio, analyze statements from Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton. The Khan-Trump controversy was included in the session. So set it up for us, Frank. What did you ask the folks?
Well, I asked them how significant was this, and this was the #1 moment from both conventions. And part of it had to deal with the fact that he showed that copy of the Constitution when he pulled it out of his breast pocket and held it up. That said to voters, this is significant, I need to pay attention to it. But it wasn't just that. He went on, and you're going to see it in the dials, the higher the lines climb, the more favorable the reaction. This is one of the high moments of both conventions when he talked about his son's and his family's sacrifice. Let's take a look.
Have you ever been to Arlington Cemetery? Go look at the graves of brave patriots who died defending United States of America. You have sacrificed nothing and no one.
All right, so even Republicans had a positive view of that statement, correct?
Correct. This is very personal, and you do not want to get into an argument with a Gold Star mother. You do not want to fight with parents who lost their child, and everyone, 100%, says that he was a war hero. This is a big mistake from the Trump campaign, from Donald Trump.
And for both parties.
And,
I mean, like that. Now, I'm going to ask Trump about this tomorrow. It's interesting. I don't think Trump meant any malice by it. But if you do identity politics by saying, well, the Muslim woman might not have been able to talk, then you're right over into the area where you're going to get hammered. Okay, let's look at Trump then. He said something positive that you in your dial session said was the most successful thing. What was that?
And it focused on the positive aspects of what Trump is talking about, the inspirational and aspirational aspect of American life. Let's take a look.
But now, my sole and exclusive mission is to go to work for our country, to go to work for you. It's time to deliver a victory for the American people. But to do that, we must break free from the petty politics of the past. America is a nation of believers, dreamers, and strivers that is being led by a group of censors, critics, and cynics.
Okay, so the aspirational, we got to get out of the politics as usual, was his strongest moment, Trump?
It was one of his strongest moments, and what stood out, because it wasn't the highest dial, but what stood out from this is the fact that instead of critiquing where we stand negatively, all the failures, he's actually talking aspirationally about how successful America can be. If Donald Trump captures that kind of positive, forward-thinking language in his presentations, Bill, he absolutely could become the next president of the United States.
And what was striking about that is it's over 60% of Democrats listening to the aspirational line approved of it.
Exactly. But there's a negative. And, Bill, I want to play for you the part that did worst for Trump. And the Clinton campaign must have been doing the same research that we were doing with the same type of voters in Ohio, because they went back to this again and again in their campaign.
Okay, let's roll the tape on that.
I have joined the political arena so that the powerful can no longer beat up on people who cannot defend themselves. Nobody knows the system better than me. Which is why I alone can fix it. I have seen firsthand how the system is rigged.
Okay, so the Democrats obviously didn't like that. Republicans were, 55% have said okay, right?
So it had no negative impact among Republicans, but those independents and Democrats, they didn't like it because to them, together, that line that Hillary Clinton used, better together, is something that they believe in. So to set the tone, Trump does best when he focuses on the positive outlook, talks about what's wrong, but then appeals to the aspirational aspects of America.
This is how it can be.
He does worse.
Right. All right. Now we're going to hold Frank over.
Exactly.
We're going to hold Frank over to talk about Hillary Clinton's best and worst moments. Then later, Special Waters World and after the convention quiz. Fact is coming right back. Continuing now with Frank Luntz and his dial session, asking the folks about the best and worst statements made by Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton. So on to Secretary Clinton, what do you have for us, Frank?
Well, we got two segments. The first one is Hillary Clinton at her best when she's talking about the economy, and amazingly, Bill, when she's acknowledging that things aren't as good as she would like them to be. Let's take a look.
Here's what I believe. I believe America thrives when the middle class thrives. I believe our economy isn't working the way it should because our democracy isn't working the way it should.
All right, so both the Republicans and Democrats approved of that, correct?
Yes, but here's the problem. She's talking about democracy not working as well as it could, or the economy not helping the middle class, but she's then saying in the next breath that the economy is perfectly fine, that this president has done a good job. Bill, you can't have it both ways.
Well, wait a minute.
There's
She
a
doesn't
sense of
say the economy
hypocrisy
is she said, let's be fair to Secretary Clinton. She says that Obama saved us from this giant depression that was going to kill us all. However, the status quo isn't good, and she's going to improve it. But doesn't get specific, as we talked about in the talking points. So now her worst moment, what's that based on?
Well, her worst moment, yes, and her worst moment is the ad hominem attacks against Donald Trump. That's not where she's good at. And frankly, her negatives are almost as high as his, which is one of the reasons why this was her lowest clip of her speech at the convention. Again, let's take a look.
Now, you didn't hear any of this, did you, from Donald Trump at his convention? He spoke for 70-odd minutes, and I do mean odd, and he offered zero solutions. But we already know he doesn't believe these things.
All right, but the Democratic thing, just like the Trump negative, 60%. I mean, they weren't offended by it, but obviously Republicans were.
She delivered a relatively good speech in her tone, in her demeanor, in the language and the topics that she used. But, Bill, there's one thing that we're not showing people is Bill Clinton's defense of her. I have to tell you that of all the speeches, the overall speeches, the one that did the worst in both conventions was Bill Clinton describing that lady, describing that girl. Nobody believed it.
Nobody believed it.
He talked about their relationship. He had no credibility and didn't move anyone.
At least he tried. Now, I want you to explain how you do these things. We got about 90 seconds left. So you get a crew, what, 31 people in Columbus, Ohio? And how were they divided up, and how did you choose them?
So they respond. We had over 1,000 people responding for the 31 that actually got in. And these are people who are absolutely committed undecideds. They may have a leaning. And in fact, a third of them leaned towards Trump, a third of them leaned towards Clinton. And when the two conventions were over, Trump and Clinton had essentially the same level of support, which is exactly what you're seeing in the polls. And they use a device about the size of a remote control, and they turn it on a second-by-second basis whether or not they want to vote for that individual. And this is like an EKG. So the clips that you just saw, we can measure second by second exactly the impact that each word, each phrase, and each presentation has on these undecided voters.
Now, are there any qualifications to do these in sessions? I mean, do they have to have a certain level of education? Are they political activists? Are there any personality profiles? Nothing like that?
Nothing like that. They have to represent the American people. So we'll have an even number of men and women. We'll have young voters as well as older voters. We'll have less well-off voters as well as those who are upper middle class. It looks like America, but undecided America.
How about
race? How about race? What's going to happen? Race? There's always going to you're going to have at least one African American. But Bill, over 80% of African Americans vote Democratic consistently. So our groups are going to have a few less African Americans than you might otherwise have.
Yeah, because you're looking for, again, uncommitted people, people who haven't really made up their mind yet, right?
That's exactly the point, and we're trying to understand why they respond the way that they do.
All right. No, so, Frank, when you get an interesting sound cut from either candidate, just let us know. We'd like to continue to do this. It's very interesting, and we appreciate it. Thank you. Plenty more ahead as the factor moves along this evening. Time magazine columnist says, I'm trying to gin up a, quote, race war. With my Black Lives Matter analysis, Joe Klein will be on the factor. Thanks for staying with us. I'm Bill O'Reilly in a personal story segment tonight. Column in Time magazine entitled An Unhinged Republican Convention and the Nation's Greatest Test contains some very interesting statements. First, that I, your humble correspondent, am trying to gin up a race war because of my coverage of Black Lives Matter. And second, that the GOP itself is now the party of hate. Joining us now from Boston, the man who wrote the column, Joe Klein. All right, let's take Black Lives Matter first. in your research for the column that you wrote, did you find anything that I reported erroneously about Black Lives Matter?
Well, I think that the problem is, look, Bill, I made a similar mistake to the one you made 25 years ago when I said that Spike Lee's movie Do the Right Thing would cause race riots. I agreed with Charles Krauthammer that night. He was trying to restrain you a little bit. You can be as critical as you want of Black Lives Matter. I'm critical of them too. But to say that they have caused the shooting of police officers, I think is a bridge too far.
But I didn't say that. I didn't say they caused it.
You were clearly...
I'll tell you exactly what I said. I said their provocations, all right, lead to a climate that is hateful toward police. I didn't say they caused it. You know that, Joe. You know that because to write a column like this, you got a nexus of stuff, and the transcripts of our program are available to you. There was no statement of Black Lives Matter caused the police deaths. It didn't happen.
Well, I remember Charles Krauthammer warning you about going too far, and you were. I mean, the thing is, look, Bill, I've been getting death threats from black militants since the 1980s because I've been as strong on this issue as you would like to think you are. And the fact is that there is a bright line, and you can't go across it.
Well, I didn't go across it. I reported accurately every single time on Black Lives Matter. Now, I have a whole bunch of stuff here about what their leadership has said. I was going to read it to you, but I'm not going to read it to you because I think you made a mistake in describing me as trying to gin up a race war, because you're not
going to read it to me. You're not going to read it to me because you know I'll agree that the stuff that their leadership has said is disgraceful.
No, but you said that I'm trying to gin up a race war, and that's not true.
Yes.
That's not true.
Well, I'm glad I am thrilled that it's not.
Okay, I'm glad you're thrilled. The second thing now is GOP as the party of hate. Now, that insults millions of Americans who are registered Republicans, does it not?
Yeah, but it also reflects a new reality. I mean, I think that by giving their nomination to Donald Trump, who I believe is completely incompetent to be president.
Didn't Donald Trump win it? Wait, Joe. Nobody gave anything to Trump. The Republican Party voted in the primaries, and he won.
Mm-hmm.
He won.
And I believe that the people who voted in those primaries for Donald Trump were at least helping him along with his message of hate toward immigrants.
All right, give me an example of
Muslims,
message of hate. Give me an example so people know what you're talking about. Give me an example of a message of hate.
Well, when he was talking about the Mexican judge, that was certainly a good example. And when he makes this blanket accusation about Muslims. Now, Bill, you know, you've actually reported on this. I've spent a lot of time with our troops overseas in Iraq and Afghanistan. I carry water for them, and I have been since 9/11. And in this case, Donald Trump, especially with the Gold Star mother, my God, you know, that's disgraceful.
Well, we'll see tomorrow what he has to say about that. But look, let's take the judge.
I hope so. I'm glad you're having him on.
The judge in the civil suit against Trump University refused to grant summary judgment to throw it out. So Trump said, I believe that he didn't do that, didn't rule my way, Trump's way, because he's of Mexican descent, and because I've been tough on the border wall, that might have influenced his thinking. So do you say that's a hate comment?
I think that it's a comment that does not reflect an adequate knowledge of the United States Constitution.
That may be true, but I don't see it as that's his opinion. It's not a hate comment.
And I think that when you call the Mexicans coming across the border, most of whom, the vast majority of whom have been very valuable workers here, when you call them rapists and murderers, even though that in a very particular sense is true,
let me try to give
ginning, to speak about ginning up.
He said that on my show.
I don't need the last word.
No, I want to give you the last word. He said that on my show, okay? One of the first interviews he did. And the context of the conversation was that the smugglers, the human smugglers of the illegal aliens crossing the southern border are raping and abusing and doing horrendous things to the poor migrants themselves. It wasn't the farmer crossing the Rio Grande is a rapist.
Bill,
again,
I'm sure that Donald Trump...
you have to give perspective.
I thought you were going to give me the last word.
I am. I want to just provide the viewer with my opinion that perspective is needed on these comments. Not validating them. Not validating them. Just trying to give perspective. Last word, Joe.
I'm sure that Donald Trump cares the world about those poor immigrants coming across the border. Yeah. He was backtracking from a stupid comment that he made in his announcement speech when he did the interview with you.
Maybe. I mean, I can't read his mind, but all I want is fairness, Joe. You weren't fair when you said I'm trying to gin up a race war. I'm not. I'm trying to accurately report on this crew. And, you know, your opinion on Republicans, that you're entitled to that. You're entitled to your opinion, but I wanted to flesh it out a little bit. But I got to say, everybody, Klein's a stand-up guy, man. Most guys would take the cheap shot. They run away. He didn't, and we appreciate you coming.
Not me, man.
That's right. You're not. You're stand-up. Water's on deck. He's asking folks what they think about the conventions now that they're over. Then a preview of the upcoming movie Killing Reagan. We got the first clips for you. Moments away. Back in the book segment tonight, Waters' World, the Thank God the Conventions Are Over edition. Pretty simple because Waters is a simple man and so am I, as you know. We sent the intrepid correspondent to talk to the folks.
What did you think about the conventions?
Which conventions?
I can't believe it. How about you guys?
I can't believe it.
The conventions, they're great. They're very, very much informative, but, you know.
Do you know what conventions I'm talking about?
Actually,
What did you think of the conventions?
It's kind of useful when you need grown food. You know, plants, vegetables, fruits.
I think you're talking about the farmer's market.
Yeah, is that it?
Go ahead, take those bananas.
I thought the Republicans were ridiculous, and I loved the Democratic convention. So polished, so perfect.
Was the Democratic one very polished when everybody was chanting anti-Hillary slogans?
Well, you got trouble, my friend.
Do you know who the Republicans nominated for president?
No.
I honestly think that this country just needs to get together.
You'd like to think that, wouldn't you?
Grade the Republican convention.
Hey, A+. Well, when I saw people get out there and speak respectfully about the cops and the military, it made me feel proud. I'm a veteran myself.
Did you watch any of the RNC in Cleveland?
No, I didn't. I didn't, unfortunately.
So you missed Scott Baio?
I think with good reason.
This is ridiculous.
I'm a huge Trump supporter. I think that's what we need in this country.
What did you think of Trump's speech?
He knows what Americans want to say, but are afraid to say it.
He has the vocabulary of about a 12-year-old.
You got to keep it simple for the folks.
Okay.
That's what I'm doing with you.
Please get your hand out of my face. I'm a person, okay?
Did you catch any of Trump's speech?
Sound bites.
Don't you want to hear the other side?
You know what? You're right. You're right.
I'm always right.
Who is this guy?
I'm kind of a big deal.
Tell me, what about the Hillary speech really stuck out to you? Did you change the channel during the Hillary speech, yes or no?
No, I turned it off. I went to sleep.
Did Hillary's speech move you?
I feel like I've heard her speech before.
Watching all the lies made me want to throw up, to be honest with you.
The DNC. Give me a grade.
B+.
I'd give it a fat F.
The convention got off to a rocky start with the DNC leak scandal. That must have made you very sad.
No, it didn't. It's politics.
I'm not happy with Debbie Wasserman Schultz at all and how she's handled the whole primaries.
Neither's Bernie.
Yeah, I know.
We can do infinitely better.
I didn't hear any mention of all the killings going on in Chicago. I didn't hear anything in the Democratic convention about, you know, the real issues.
You had people burning the American flag outside, and I think that that's just disgusting and a disgrace to this country.
Why didn't the Democrats mention ISIS or illegal immigration very much?
You'd have to ask them.
I'm sorry, but all questions must be submitted in writing.
Who are you going to vote for?
I'm going to vote for Hillary. She's more fit to be in office.
Physically fit? What's your number one issue when you go to the polls?
I would say the lines.
The line ends here. It begins there.
Oh, no.
If I was running for president to stop a war, I'll ask the person that's starting the war, what's your problem?
I said, what's your problem?
Let me see these puppies.
All right. I got to catch a glimpse of these warlocks.
Woo! Oh!
Well, it's your world, buddy.
I think we'd all agree we're glad the conventions are over. Factor tip of the day, a preview of the upcoming movie Killing Reagan. The tip, moments away. Factor tip of the day, your first look at the upcoming movie Killing Reagan in a moment. But first, we want to thank everybody who's made Legends and Lies, the TV show, a huge hit. Great episode last night about George Washington struggling in his presidency with violent chaos. Now, next Sunday, the final episode of Legends and Lies of Patriots, so we hope you check it out. There will be a DVD of the series coming soon, and of course, Legends and Lies, the Patriots book, which is a complement to the TV show. Great illustrations, more storyline on the icons. Still a massive bestseller all across the country. If you become a BillO'Reilly.com premium member, you get that book or any of my other writings free of charge. Once again, a reminder that all the money I make from BillO'Reilly.com goes to charity. Over the years, millions of dollars have been put to good use, and we thank you all. This coming Sunday, Alexander Hamilton on Legends and Lies. Now the mail. Barbara Spinelli, Tucson, Arizona. Listen to Charles Krauthammer speak about Donald Trump, and his disregard and disdain are very obvious. He's not alone there, Barbara. But there are plenty of other commentators on Fox News who support Mr. Trump. That's the balance in the fair and balanced slogan. Roger Scobie, Malaga, Spain. Hillary Clinton, while Secretary of State instructed her aides to hack into computers of foreign nations, the liberal media has not reported this. I haven't reported it either, Roger. We've seen no evidence to support that claim. Come on, man. Got to bring some skepticism when reading this stuff. Pam Butler, Birmingham, Alabama. O'Reilly, I'm an open-minded African-American who was hurt when you said slaves that assisted in the building of the White House were well-fed. Really insensitive. Well, I'm truly sorry you were hurt, Pam, and I appreciate your email. Historical facts sometimes are unsettling. Michelle Obama was criticized in some places for mentioning the White House was built partly on slave labor, but she was correct. And her comments were pro-America, not a slapdown. I simply added perspective because many folks want to know exactly what happened with George Washington, Thomas Jefferson, and other icons on the slavery issue. So I accurately portrayed the construction scenario of the People's House under Washington. I hope you understand. Maureen Myers, Godfrey, Illinois. Bill, I'm grateful for your honest and fair commentary. I tune into all the news programs, and the Factor is by far the best. Well, I appreciate that, Maureen. Donna McAvoy, Lilburn, Georgia. O'Reilly, just want to thank you for Legends and Lies. My 14-year-old daughter loves it so much. Great to hear, Donna. She'll be way ahead of her peers if she learns about our country. And on that note, finally, the tip of the day. On October 16th, National Geographic Channel run the movie Killing Reagan based on my best-selling book. For the first time ever, here's a preview.
We understand that at least 3 persons have been hit. The president was hit.
Warnick Hinckley.
Tim Matheson as the president, Cynthia Nixon as Nancy Reagan. Lights out, great. As you may know, the first 3 movies, Killing Lincoln, Killing Kennedy, Killing Jesus, huge hits. I believe Killing Reagan may top them. Back to tip of the day. That is it for us tonight. Please check out the Fox News Factor website, different from BillO'Reilly.com. Also, please spout off about the Factor from anywhere in the world. O'Reilly at FoxNews.com, O'Reilly at FoxNews.com. Name and town. Wish you a pine. Word of the day, do not pettifog when writing to the Factor. Again, thanks for watching us tonight. I'm Bill O'Reilly. Please remember that the spin stops here, so we are definitely looking out for you.